But we would never want to place a candidate where they turn up on their first day and go, oh God, I've made a massive mistake. Unfortunately, unconscious bias will come up at every stage of the process.
Yeah.
What we can do and what we can add value to our clients is making sure that they are recognised and that they are removed.
I can imagine some difficult conversations that you have to have as well.
It is difficult, but then when you kind of explain it and give your reasons and this is why we're suggesting you do it this way, they're like, oh God, yeah, why did we never think of that?
Hello and welcome to Sparks, a podcast by the Sagos Group. I'm your host, Millie Gladstone, one of the senior L&D consultants here in our UK office. Excitingly, in the studio today, I'm joined by Phoebe Shaw, who is an account manager at Give a Grad a Go, and she's here to talk to us about DEI in recruitment. So Phoebe, first of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And so just to get us started, tell us a bit about you, your role, and what that entails.
So I'm Phoebe. I'm an account manager for Give a Grad a Go, and essentially what I do and what the business does is we help graduates start their careers. We manage them from the start of the process to hopefully an offer at the end, and we offer that guidance and support all the way throughout when and if they need it.
Awesome, thank you so much. And I know you've actually worked with us at Sagos UK to place a couple of grads, shout out to Scarlett and Lara, who are both in our marketing team actually. And thank you so much for coming along to talk to us about DEI in recruitment. It's something that is a very hot topic at the moment, I feel like. So hopefully you can offer us some insights on how to make sure DEI is being approached really well during the recruitment process. So just to start us off, what is Give a Grad a Go's approach to diversity, equity and inclusion, which is of course what DEI stands for, in recruitment? And what does your DEI promise look like in practice day to day?
So at Give a Grad a Go, we really make sure that our approach is not just a side project. It has to be something that's embedded throughout the entire recruitment process. So how we do that is from job adverts, making sure that the language in job adverts is really clear and it isn't kind of targeting a specific group or audience or type of candidate. The process itself, from first stage interviews, the entire process as a whole, how we guide our clients through hiring and from how we support our candidates as well, up until that entire process. So first stages being really well managed, both from kind of a geographical and financial fair point. Final stages being considered culture fits, that whole kind of idea of gut feeling we want to remove. Through to the offer stages, really, and making sure that our shortlists are really thorough. We remove kind of names, identifying information from CVs. So just making the entire process really inclusive and making sure that we are kind of targeting every audience while also fulfilling the profile that the candidate and the client wants.
Yeah, sounds like you guys are doing so much. What a long list, and all really, really great stuff. Do you know when you guys started doing that as part of your process or how it came about? Yeah,
so we've always, well, ever since I've been there, which is, God, 6 years now, it's always been something that we've wanted to kind of incorporate. As you mentioned, it is something that's becoming more forefront in the recruitment process and the hiring process, but it is something that we've always stood on. So it's not really been a tick box that we've ever kind of wanted to just do. It's always been something that we've embedded throughout the processes. So yeah, it's always been something that we've always kind of stood on and wanted to do. The anonymizing the CVs has been a practice, not purely for just the client's sake, but also for the candidate's sake, knowing that their information is not being sent over to kind of a wide variety of different people. Yeah. So it's all about just making sure that everyone's getting a fair shot. And these are kind of the very small but really big moves that we can do to make sure that happens.
Yeah, and definitely something that makes a big impact in recruitment in particular, because you do at the end of the day want the best person for the job. So actually having things like anonymised data and applications and CVs really just goes a long way in helping make sure that all of that is really fair, but also that you do get the right person in the role. So where, in your opinion, do the biggest points of bias still show up in the hiring process?
So unfortunately, unconscious bias will come up at every stage of the process.
Yeah.
And where we do, what we can do and what we can add value to our clients is making sure that they are recognised and that they are removed. So, like I said, it does come up at every stage. So even from job specs, we'll get job specs through from clients where we're like, we need to reword this because this is specifically targeted to a certain person, because naturally clients hire familiar people rather than who's the right fit for the role. So when they write job specs, they're writing them not on purpose, but based on another individual.
Yeah.
Even through to the shortlisting processes, the interview processes, again, they can be unconscious bias because you're interviewing people, a certain type of person that you already think is going to be good for the role without kind of exploring other options. So again, where we just add that value is we've got a wide pool of data. We've got so many candidates on offer. So we can just introduce them to different audiences, different candidates that they might not have had on the books before. And then unfortunately as well, with the processes themselves, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of companies and clients do these culture fit stages of a process, which are great. We completely understand why they do it, but they're quite an old school way of hiring. I know some clients like to have these pub trips, which aren't super inclusive. And if the final stage of an interview is dependent on how many pints you can drink in a pub, it's not great. So we just kind of have different ways, and we do kind of go through these processes and different alternatives as to what they can do just to make the process seem a little bit more inclusive and fairer on everyone involved.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, what kind of options do you suggest for the culture fit? Because on the one hand, I do understand, of course, you want the right person for the job, no matter who they are or what that looks like. But if they're going to, cause friction
Completely
against other people in the team for whatever reason, it's good to kind of know that straight up.
Yeah.
So obviously a pub is not an appropriate setting for that to happen, and that's super old school. But what kind of other things do you suggest?
Yeah, so culture fit chats, like you said, are needed because you don't want someone coming in that is going to cause friction or disrupt the team culture that you already have. We do advise that you still do these culture fit chats, but just don't name them necessarily that. So incorporate it in as part of a final stage interview. So once the candidate has kind of completed all of the questions that they have, expanding and getting other team members to come in. What really helps with the graduate market is having them come and speak to other graduates that might have been in that position and maybe are like 6 months into their role, having them meet other different members of the team, just making it a little bit more wide scope for them to meet those individuals in the office in that final stage, as opposed to removing them and maybe taking them to a pub or somewhere else where that is kind of, it's dependent on that. So it just removes that level of pressure.
Yeah, so keeping it on site maybe and actually having other team members. Because also I think when you are going for a job and interviewing for a role, you also want to know that you're going to be the right fit as well. So it is in everyone's benefit to make sure that it happens, but it's just got to happen in the right way and in a way that's inclusive.
Completely. Like when I first started my role at Give a Grad a Go, I interviewed completely remotely because we were in the middle of COVID. Luckily, when we came out of COVID, the culture was brilliant and I've been there ever since. But we do really recommend that clients have these in-person interviews, like you said, not only for their benefit, but for the candidate's benefit. We would never want to place a candidate where they turn up on their first day and go, oh God, I've made a massive mistake.
Yeah, completely. So could you share for us, you've given some examples already, but one or two kind of perspectives of what inclusivity looks like in practice for you at Give a Grad a Go, the different angles that you're looking at that with? So
it's essentially about levelling the playing field. We have such a wide reach, so many different candidates from all over the country will come and sign up to our website, which is brilliant. We work with a load of different universities as well, so our name is out there. In terms of how we manage and make sure everything's inclusive on our side, so we have our anonymous survey, which grads can fill in completely anonymously, so it will not relate back to their profile or affect their job search in any way. But in terms of how we manage it and we hold ourselves accountable, we make sure that every candidate that comes through with us, if they're in process, is receiving the exact same treatment throughout whatever process they're going forward with. Equally, we do get so many applications. We have, I think, 25,000 grads sign up a month. Wow. So it's a huge number of graduates, which we're so grateful for. but we want to make sure that every grad, we can't speak to every single person, but we want to make sure we can speak to as many as possible. So our junior team have targets where they're set that they just have to speak to as many grads in a day. Essentially, we might not have necessarily a role for them at that time, but grads really want to speak to someone and essentially just kind of see what other options are out there. And I think that's where we're not a square peg round hole agency. We want to make sure that we are placing grads and that are really kind of want those positions and clients that are really happy with the work and they stay there.
And it's probably really nice for the grads on their end to actually get that advice and support as well. Obviously you can give that to the companies as well, and it sounds like you are giving them advice on how to make their process more fair as well. But actually just having someone to talk to when you're a grad.
Yeah.
When you're trying to get a role, for some of them it's probably their first time getting an office job, they might not know what's going on. So even that helps level up the playing field like you were talking about as well.
Absolutely. Interviews can be so intimidating, especially when you've never done it before. And just where we can add that value and that support really is grads are nervous. When you're going into any kind of professional scenario, I think I would get nervous now. So having someone that's essentially just telling you, right, this is how the formula of how this interview is going to go and this is how you can basically get the best out of it, just being super prepared. They really do appreciate it.
Yeah, I can imagine. I actually could not get a grad job when I finished uni. And I had a contracted role, ironically, for an HR team in an accountancy firm, and I was helping them recruit grads for their grad program. And I was like, the irony.
Do you want to know? I struggled as well. And then when I got the job here, I was like, I needed me at the time.
As you're talking, I'm like, wow, I wish I'd known about these guys. So at Give a Grad a Go, as I understand it, you do make sure that all of your new hires receive their D&I training. And what does the training cover? Do you know?
So the training is, like I said, because this isn't a side project, it's not really a tick box that we have to go, right, they've been trained in this. It's kind of embedded in the way that we work as an agency. But what I would say is like how we make sure that those areas are really focused on is just the way that we speak to our grads. We do ask them kind of questions about their accessibility to different locations, in the way that is it really possible for them to reach these certain places, even if it's just because they're too far away to commute from it. I think some grads get really excited and kind of go, oh, a 3.5 hour commute, I can do that. And it's just kind of going, okay, no, we don't want you to do that. But in terms of training as well, the way that we work is we only hire from juniors. So everyone, myself, my MD, everyone at the company has always started as a junior. So we have all worked through that process. And what's really nice is whenever someone new starts with us, they will train with every person, different level of the business. And they'll see how we work, see how we operate. In terms of kind of how to potentially have those maybe difficult conversations with clients that might be quite set in their ways on a certain hiring process, how to almost educate and consult them on doing something slightly different. Like I say, the language, spotting different language and how we kind of not leading questions, asking grads to kind of be as open as possible, recognising the job spec languages and kind of knowing, okay, this is really targeted to this demographic. How can we make it broader and wider? And I think in general, just the way that our HR team work with us, and it's just all, as a business, we are so inclusive with our hiring processes, and just kind of mirroring that when they are training. This is kind of how we work. This is how we do things, and essentially that's what's expected of you moving forward into those senior positions. Because we do have to have sometimes quite difficult conversations with clients, and it's just about managing expectations. So
yeah, I love that you hire everyone from a junior level as well. It kind of speaks to your ethos of give a grad a go. It's like you are giving grads a go.
Everyone has been given a grad.
Love that. So we've seen that you are publishing reports with some stats in, so I thought we could take a look at a couple of those stats. So one of the statistics that came out was that 88% of graduates would prefer to work at diverse companies, and ethnicity is a leading factor in feeling overlooked. So how do these insights help you guys at Give a Grad a Go shape the support that you give?
Yeah, well, I think the numbers kind of speak for themselves, that these expectations are now a priority for graduates. Like, diversity and inclusion is something that is now expected. It's not nice to have anymore. So how we really kind of aid that is when we speak to clients, like, this is now something that's a prerequisite. It's not okay, we can maybe factor it in. Graduates are expecting this. It is a real importance for them, as important as whether the role is hybrid or the salary. This is an expectation that has now been set. And again, it's just that education piece. It's never anyone, I think, everything that's done, I think, is most of the time unconscious bias, and it's just about educating on how to make processes fairer on the client side, and then from the candidate side, what they expect from us as an agency and how we can kind of represent them and those diverse groups with our clients. And I think on a whole, we are really good at it. Just to not to our own hands, but we do, not that we have to factor anything in, but all of our shortlists, all of our processes are super diverse. And I think with our stats and the D&I stats that you have there, it's all from our anonymous surveys, which again just shows the level of kind of how we are constantly trying to hold ourselves accountable. Are we missing anything? Are we not representing a certain audience or demographic? And on the bottom of every single one of our job specs that we put online, we've got our policy reminders there. So if there is any confusion or anyone's unhappy, we will constantly have those policies highlighted.
And obviously, we're getting a bit meta here, but collecting and using diversity data can feel a bit tricky. So how, or for employers as well, maybe not for you guys because you've got such a good process in place, but how would you recommend for other companies to kind of balance respecting privacy but also getting the data that they need?
Completely. So I think where we do it so well is we are super transparent, and we also share the intentions of why that data is being collected. So transparency comes down to the fact of we need to collect this data. It's really important for us to improve all of these processes that we're trying to set in place. But the intention is also highlighted. We're not just taking this data for the fun of it. We're taking it to learn and grow and essentially make things, hopefully for the hiring process, is a lot smoother and fairer and more diverse. I think the anonymous side of it as well, we're never going to release who's said what on these datas. And I think that comes with a level of comfort for graduates as well. We want it to be a safe place where they are able to share their feedback and answer these surveys honestly, without kind of any risk of them thinking, okay, this could come back and this is now going to be associated with me. So it is that transparency. We tell them exactly what the data is being used for. And it's all to help learn and educate people and make processes better for, hopefully, a lot of the graduates and future talent in the future.
Yeah, so keeping it transparent, making sure you're sharing the intention. It's quite a lot of trust as well that they're placing in you, I guess probably stemming from the fact that you're saying this is what it's being used for, and we're not just taking this randomly. And probably even things like publishing the reports based on that data shows that it's not just sitting on a computer or a database somewhere in your office. It is actually out for the world to see and for other people to take notice of and learn from as well.
Absolutely, and that's we want, like I said, it should be a safe place. The whole graduate hiring is so intimidating when they come out of university. It's hard. It's especially with the market at the moment, and then adding kind of all of these other factors on top of it. We want it to be somewhere where they can really share their feedback and essentially help us. Like I said, we want to be held accountable for things. And if there is something we could do better or we are missing something, this is where this data is really important.
And that's a key word, I think, as well. You said it a couple of times, but accountability, to make sure that it isn't, as you say, just a tick box exercise. It's, you know, as you say, having your processes, but then being able to continually improve them as well, based on the data, based on what you learn, and actually making sure that you are helping your clients as well understand the impact that being inclusive can have
Absolutely.
for their recruitment processes as well. So obviously recruitment for many employers or companies is kind of the first step. It's getting somebody into the business. So how can employers make sure that they continue to be inclusive day to day as people progress through their company as well?
Yeah, so I think the whole point of having these conversations and wanting, like I keep saying, to educate clients is so that these processes, we're hiring potential, we're not hiring pedigree. So we want to make sure that it's not just isolated to the recruitment. Right, we've done this, we've hit all these marks, and now we've kind of let the ball drop. So it does come down to culture, I think. Leading by example, having senior team members that are leading by example and setting those kind of standards. I'm only speaking specifically on graduates because that's my market, but having constant chats with them, making sure that they feel valued within a business. We speak to clients about it all the time. Promotions are really important to graduates. They want to know that their career is going in a uphill direction, and it's not about kind of adding thousands to their salary. It's the small things, like even just changing the job title slightly so they can update it on LinkedIn. Those little things that just make a grad feel really, really valued. But in terms of the wider scope and diversity and inclusion, I think the main area is down to the culture side of it, making sure that people are heard, making sure that opinions are listened to, if there are any discrepancies or people are unhappy in any way, making sure that any grievances are dealt with and handled in the right way. And having a good support system, good HR within a business is really important. I would say even more so now than ever. So yeah, just the culture and allowing your employees to feel seen, valued, and that they are kind of important to you and the business.
Because it's such a strong part of how you guys operate at Give a Grad a Go, do you find a lot of clients coming to you to ask your advice? Like if you've given them some feedback in the past, maybe about a job description, for example, that you've had to change to be more inclusive, do you find that they come back for more advice, like informally or formally?
It's interesting because even when you're doing a briefing call with a client and you're planning how the processes are going to look, and this is where we do and where we add value, and we offer that advice, it's surprising how some people go, gosh, we've never even thought of that. Like first stage interviews, we recommend first stage interviews need to be had online because firstly, it allows you to save your time and not have everyone come into the office. But from a candidate point of view and a diversity and inclusion point of view, you're not discriminating against someone that might financially not be able to get into your offices, or like they have to be there. So like you're not kind of going against the geography of where they've grown up or how far away from the offices there are. And it's just things like that where they haven't considered or thought about it, not because they are meaning to just, right, we're not going to think about it like that. It's just not something that's ever crossed their minds. So yeah, I would say, where we add value, we almost work as a consultant for them as well. So we offer this advice and support. So yeah, we are essentially improving their processes. So in answer to your question, no, I think they do really value when we come on board because we do, this is my job, this is what I do every single day. And when they're starting up a process, they're like, God, we just thought we'd have to interview like 3 or 4 people and that be done. It's like, no, there's got to be a set process with these things.
Yeah, and you've mentioned one already there about the first interview or meeting being virtual to make sure that it's accessible for everyone. What are a few more examples maybe of those sort of low cost but high impact things that companies can do to make sure that they are bringing equity to their hiring process?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So I'm a big fan of a scoring system. And essentially what that is having a certain kind of different areas that you find really important, that these are like we must-haves for the business. So if it's like your analytical skills, your communication skills, your, I don't know, whatever it may be, to be scored kind of from 1 to 10, and you interview with kind of 3 other different people who all have the same sheet, same set of questions. And then at the end, you kind of offer the role to the candidate with the highest score. Most clients do it in assessment days. That's a really popular option as well. because it just kind of reduces everyone to come into the office once. And again, it doesn't, you're reducing all of those other factors that I named earlier. But yeah, I would say it's the scoring system, because again, it gets rid of this kind of, oh, I just had a gut feeling about them. That's not really helpful feedback. The CVs, so removing all the identifying information from CVs. I know that's something we do, but I think it does add to the client's processes. It's such a low, I mean, it takes minutes to do it. And it just means that the client isn't focusing on who this person is. It's focusing on the potential that that person can bring, because you're removing any identifying factors. And it is just down to, right, their experiences, their skill sets. We do leave education on there because it's some people take it off. We leave it on because we know that these grads have worked really hard for their education, and for us, who are we to then remove that from them and go, right, that's not going to be used in your job application. So we do leave it on there.
Also, your company being called Give a Grad a Go,
no,
if there's not then information about where they've graduated from.
I know.
It's probably a bit suspicious.
Yeah, some people do take the education off there, because
really?
Even that is, again, this is something that we do educate clients on. With the higher Russell Group universities, even their processes on letting people in isn't sometimes super diverse. So we do warn clients of that when, if you are, because some clients will say, right, I want Russell Group unis. And then we kind of go, right, okay, but the demographic that you're going to have is this, and you're not including all of it. And you're reducing your talent pool by half when you're doing that. So,
doesn't make sense.
No. Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people just don't know it, and it's not because they're being ignorant, it's just they genuinely don't know these things.
Yeah.
And we've always had this, again, very old-fashioned, Russell Groups are the best unis, and it's just, okay, in terms of a ranking maybe, but you're losing a potential candidate who could be unbelievable for this position based on where they went to school. It just seems a bit silly.
And it's not even ranking, is it? Isn't it just that are they like the research-based uni? So it's not... Yeah. So funny.
I know, and it's because they do. It's so and again, it's just a matter of kind of letting them know that this is how processes work now, and we work with a lot of graduates and X, Y, and Z. But your standards need to expand, and you think your standards are high because you only want a certain kind of university status. But in reality, that shows not a lot now.
Yeah, it's a bit of, as you say, kind of just challenging the way that we've always done things and sort of old school ways of thinking, which can be really challenging. So I can imagine some difficult conversations that you have to have as well.
It is difficult, but then when you kind of explain it and give your reasons, and this is why we're suggesting you do it this way, they're like, oh God, yeah, why do we never think of that? Yeah. So it is interesting.
Yeah. Okay, final question from me today then. If you were to look 5 years ahead in the future, what would your hope for the recruitment industry... What would your hope for the recruitment industry be when we're thinking about equity and inclusion?
I think it's what I've been saying the whole time. Like my hope would be that it is just a norm. It's not just it's not a tick box that we just have to assume or kind of say, right, we've done that. Let's move on. I think it just needs to be incorporated. And this is where, again, how we really add value, and hopefully we're making a difference and an impact by educating people throughout their hiring processes where they might not have thought about doing things a certain way or viewing a CV a certain way. It is just making it more normalised. Because, I think everyone should have a fair shot when they're applying for jobs. It's tough enough as it is. You kind of want everyone on your side as opposed to having these limits. And hopefully in 5 years' time, I'm seeing it change, and it is just so ingrained and embedded in how we work. Yeah. And I'm hoping that will be the same for everyone moving forward.
The ripple effect. I'm sure as well, if they work with you and see how you approach grads and have challenged them on certain policies maybe that they have, that's going to ripple across to any hiring process, not just for the grads, but hopefully for the wider company.
Exactly. And once they've got in terms of how we work, we are in charge of their shortlist. We manage everything from the candidate side and the client side. So once they are kind of through a process, it's down to the individual at that point. So it kind of does start with us to make our shortlist as inclusive as possible. And I do feel like we have really good processes in place to allow that to happen.
Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me. What an insightful episode. So many good tips there that you've brought up. So thank you. And watchers, listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, please do make sure that you subscribe, and we'll see you again next time.